We're going to begin with our first candidate, Republican candidate for your House 76 House District. Our first candidate is Matt Lynch. Matt, come on up.
Thank you. Good evening. And thanks for coming out tonight on a cold night to listen to some candidates. And thanks especially to Tom Z. I met Tom back in 2009 at an early Tea Party and got to know him a little bit more last summer when I went to the We the People convention. I'm looking forward to the We the People convention coming up this summer as well. Some of you may know my name, Matt Lynch. I live just a little bit north of here in Bainbridge Township. And my office is right on Chillicothe Road on 306, just north of 422. And some of you may recognize the fact that I sometimes put a sign out front of my office as an expression of my frustration with some of what the government does. I bought the sign some years ago, and I put phrases out there like illegal immigration hurts the nation, or healthcare passed, Constitution trashed. In fact, my favorite one is very simply put, Acorn is nuts. And if you drove by today, you'd see that I have a sign out front that says, pipeline lost, you pay the cost, which really expresses my feelings about that situation. I'm a longtime resident of Geauga County, and my wife Laura is here somewhere. We have 5 daughters, there she is, and 7 grandchildren. I grew up in a family of 9 children, 8 brothers and sisters. My dad had a small law office in downtown Cleveland, and as we were growing up, it turned out that 6 of his 9 children became lawyers. I went to law school at night while I was a banker during the day, and when I graduated law school, I was privileged to join him in the practice of law. And my dad taught me that a law office is really no different from any other small business. That is, if you provide a good service at a reasonable price, you'll be successful. And he was very successful. He practiced law until he was age 92 and died a few years ago at age 97. So I learned a lot from him. Now, my mom and dad were pretty political. They didn't actually run for office, but they were always talking about politics. In fact, I used to say that we didn't have placemats at our dinner table, we had lecterns, because we were always arguing about politics. And about 5 years ago, as I was on my couch screaming at the O'Reilly factor, my wife finally says to me, well, why don't you get off the couch and do something about it? And so I thought, well, okay, my kids are grown, I'll do something. And I looked around in Bainbridge Township, and Bainbridge had a lot of money, but it had a lot of money problems. And so I decided to run for Bainbridge Township trustee. And I ran against a 14-year incumbent. I'm a believer in slogans, so I had a slogan that said, lower taxes, less spending. And that resonated with the folks, and I won that race by 21 votes. And I spent the next 4 years, first as chairman of the Board of Trustees, in trying to get a handle on the what I thought was really poor spending habits of Bainbridge Township. And in the last several years that we were there, last 3 years I was there, we were actually able to reduce our general fund expenditures by some 17%. So I'm very pleased about that. And I learned a lot as trustee. I learned first and foremost that government is all too eager to take our money and your money. And I also learned that local issues are often driven by what happens at the state and federal level. I can't tell you how many times we had people come to make presentations to our board offering us free money. Free money from the EPA, free money from ODNR, free money from the Federal Highway Administration. I even had one woman one night actually refer to it as Obama money. But I know, and you know, there's no such thing as free money. There's only 2 ways, folks, for the government to get money. And that's they either take it from you or they borrow it from the Chinese. And until we have legislators that recognize that we have a serious financial problem, that we're on a fast track towards financial ruin, we're never going to get out of this mess. We simply cannot continue to elect politicians who want to buy our votes with our own money. We can't continue to shovel money from Washington and Columbus down to the local level. The fact is, someone who says to you that he wants to get elected because he's going to bring home the bacon is not the kind of politician that you want. In fact, I'm here to tell you, the pig is dead. Now, I'm a conservative. And I agree with Grover Norquist of the Americans for Tax Reform when he says we need to shrink government so it's small enough to drown in a bathtub. Well, maybe not. But when everyone says they're a conservative, being a conservative means different things to different people. And frankly, we've been fooled and misled before. But I can tell you this about me. When I say I'm a conservative, it means I'm a small government, low tax, stop spending my grandchildren's future conservative. It means I am a gun collecting, Constitution defending, pro-life, pro-God conservative. And those are the values that I'm proud to say I will bring to Columbus if elected. I have taken the Americans for Tax Reform pledge of no new taxes. I have pledged in writing that I will not ever vote to raise your taxes. Now, that's because I don't believe we have a problem that there's too little in taxes. The problem is we have too much spending. And this no tax pledge has been taken by the governor. It's been taken by the Speaker of the House, where I will serve, the Speaker Bill Batchelder. But I intend to hold them to that pledge and that promise, and I certainly intend to keep that promise myself. Now, I'd like to discuss just one or two issues to give you some idea about my thought process and ask you if these issues and the way I see them resonate with the way you see them. And I first want to talk to you about something I call the windmill bill. There's a proposal in Columbus by a group of investors who want to build windmills in Lake Erie. Now, as you might imagine, this is an expensive project. In fact, if you build windmills anywhere on land, it's an expensive project. It can only make economic sense with government subsidies and your tax dollars. But these guys want to build it in the lake. And in order to make that work, they're asking the state legislature to pass a bill that would force the local power companies to buy this power from the windmills, even though it's much more expensive than the power that's available from other sources. And guess who pays for that higher cost electricity? You. I will never allow that to happen if I have the opportunity to say no to raising your electric bills. You know, folks, we have discovered, as many of you know, a huge and incredibly wonderful supply of gas in the state of Ohio and Pennsylvania. This gas will allow us to produce cheap electricity. If this windmill bill were to pass, we'd have to sell the gas to other states so they can have cheap electricity while you're subsidizing the windmill electricity from the windmills in Lake Erie. And that doesn't make any sense. And I have to tell you that I read recently that manufacturing actually takes up 1/3 of all energy use. 1/3 goes to manufacturing. We cannot have a growing manufacturing base. We can't have a renewed manufacturing base if we don't have cheap, plentiful energy. And the plain fact is we have to drill for this gas in Ohio. Yes, we have to be careful. We have to drill carefully. We have to drill safely. But we have to drill. And I will not accept that we will have one more soldier sent to the Mideast to defend their oil wells when we have what could be the greatest supply of energy in Ohio right under our feet. Now, I want to talk briefly about Obamacare because, as you know, Issue 3 passed recently, which was supposed to outlaw Obamacare in Ohio. But Obamacare is moving forward. All across the country, the federal government is trying to force states to implement these health care exchanges where you and I are supposed to be forced to buy our health care. Well, Issue 3 is out there, and the governor and the legislature are holding back against setting up those health care exchanges, but the government is dangling a lot of money to tempt them to begin the process. In fact, the federal government has already spent $1.5 billion in having these health care exchanges set up across the country, and millions are being offered to the state of Ohio. We must stay strong. We must know that we are going to stand up to the federal government. How many people in this room know about the 10th Amendment? I know a lot of you do. And what does the 10th Amendment say? It says, all rights not granted to the federal government are reserved to the states and the people. Ohio must stand up on its hind legs, on the Constitution, on the 10th Amendment, and say to the feds and President Obama, no. If elected, I will not give in, I will not falter, I will not waver. I will be your loud voice in Columbus that'll be heard all across the state saying to Mr. Obama, leave Ohio alone. And finally, I want to talk to you about the right to life, something I think which is extremely important. We have two bills in the legislature right now called the heartbeat bills, the opportunity to have some of the strictest abortion law restrictions in the country. Either of those bills would be a tremendous improvement over what goes on now. We, last year, had 28,000 abortions performed in the state of Ohio, and since Roe v. Wade, 50 million unborn Americans have been killed. This is a national tragedy. It's a Holocaust against the unborn. And I will work tirelessly to see that we have one or both of those heartbeat bills passed so we can preserve the rights and preserve the lives of the unborn. In short, folks, when people say, what do you stand for? I'm a Christian because I believe in the Bible. I'm a conservative because I believe in the Constitution. And I'm a Republican because I believe that's the way to win. If those values resonate with you, then I ask for your support on March 6th. I ask for your support in November, should I win. And I ask for your prayers for me and for all of these candidates. And I ask for your prayers so that God will continue to bless the state of Ohio and the United States of America. Thank you.